All right, your number one loser. I can't remember. Growing, you have all the linebackers for a winner. We're going to negative town. Who's the mayor?
Give me your number one winner. Your number one loser. Who's your number one winner?
Okay, well, this is tough. I'm going to go Mac Jones. And this is difficult because, all right, we got more overlap. Yeah. It's not that Mac Jones isn't going to be better next season. I think it's just that Mac Jones could very well be better and make year two leap we've been talking about ad nauseum since the season ended 47-14 at Buffalo. It's that he could be better and we might not know it. Because you're looking at a new offensive coordinator, a new play caller, a new quarterbacks coach, a new number one receiver in Devonte Parker, who's played one full season in his entire career since coming out in the draft in 2015. And then you're looking at an offensive line where, as you know, he's a pocket-bound, ground-bound dude who's not going to escape. Your two starting guards, most responsible for that interior protection, are new, and one of them's a rookie. And again, I think Cole Strange could be very good, but we don't know that until now. And I think as far as the help around Mac Jones, they brought in some new faces. There's just not a lot of certainty and stability for a guy that you're counting on to elevate the rest of the team, and did as much as he could last year. But we saw that was just a 10-7 club that has now arguably worse talent on the roster.
Okay, so you must obviously listen to Merloni, Fauria, and Mego.
Oh, of course, my girl Mego. You got to watch out for her.
Because I said this about a month ago. Like, don't be surprised if there's a regression with Mac Jones. He already kind of reached a height that I think most people didn't think that was possible. So there's that starting off. Hey, you should be better than you were last year. Okay. However, if you just take the things that we know, Josh McDaniels is not here. That alone, the fact that you had one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL as your mentor, as your teacher, encouraging you, motivating you, explaining everything to you, dealing with the ups and the downs and the emotions of playing the positions and the physical toll and the mental toll that it takes, he's gone. Now, anyone you replace him with is a downgrade, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So now, instead of bringing in a offensive coordinator that is has some respectability and reputation and history of coaching the position, you bring back Joe Judge, Matt Patricia. No disrespect to them, but on their best day, they can't hold Josh McDaniels' jockstrap. Okay, they can't. So just that alone, I think I knock him down a peg, because it's just he's not going to get the same teaching and mentoring. Like that alone, I just take that out. Like, he may be smarter, he may be ready. And to your point, the regression, I think, is going to be something that people hold against him. Hey, what happened? Last year, you were great. Why are you worse this year? I went through a whole list of second-year quarterback regressions on my show without their coordinators or after a good first year. And there was a lot of them, who lost their coordinators. It's just hard to replicate that. And I've had really good coaches and shitty coaches. The shitty coaches always made it tougher for me to have a good season. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I think it's important to quantify this, right? Because we can just say, clearly, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia as offensive coordinators or offensive minds are not as good as Josh McDaniels. But how does that translate in season? And I think I would go back to, people would say, hey, well, Tom Brady carried his offensive coordinators right when Josh started, 05, 06, 07, and things were okay. But the difference that Brady and McDaniels would tell you later on, when they've had years together, McDaniels is a seasoned play caller and they know what they're doing, is that the problem solving on the sideline became so much faster. They knew what answers to go to because of their time together, because McDaniels had built that system, things that can only come about over time. Mac Jones clearly doesn't have that. Year two kid, sure, he started as a rookie, things should be better. Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, having not constructed the system, they might understand it, but they don't go, up against the Bills, who again are keeping them out of the end zone better than anyone, and say, hey, we did this in 17 or 16. Let's bring up this play because it cracked them back then. And that's the stuff McDaniels and Brady were doing. And you just don't have that institutional knowledge and control. Was Mac Jones on your loser list, though?
He was my number one loser.
All right. So, yeah, we have some more overlap. And it's difficult. And I think even statistically, he could be better, right? But we see teams all the time where you go, their record isn't reflective of who they are. But it's worse than the product to see in the field. And it's because they lose close games, or you have a bad bounce here, or a bad call goes against your way. I think that's the season right now that Mac Jones could be headed towards, just based on the help, like we talked about.
Yeah. And I don't know Joe Judge at all. I know Matt well, and I love Matt. I don't think he's going to be calling plays. I don't. I think he'll be more responsible for the offensive line, which is an important role, but it isn't as important as the person who's sitting down with him and saying, okay, I'm responsible for you. Okay, so what are your top 15 plays that you like? What are your top 5 first and 10 plays? Your red zone plays, your fringe plays, 2-minute offense. What's your number one play? Like, I think Bill is going to have some impact on this as far as meeting with them. But ultimately, when you break the team meeting, you go with your position coach. Right. You know, Brian Hoyer's in there, you know, who's it? Zappy, the Zappy kid, you know, that they just drafted, Bailey Zappy. Those guys, you know, manipulate and build the game plan. So, and then you get into the actual art, the art of calling plays. And I call it an art because that's what it is. Timing is part of it, setting it up, like manipulating the defense, knowing their tendencies, knowing the defensive coordinator's personality, knowing all that stuff plays into it. And Josh was fabulous at it.
Right.
Fabulous at it. I give him more credit for the timing of his play calling than anything, because he was always spot on with it. And that's a significant drop.
Yeah, and it's just, again, things that you can only learn over time. Those skills that you develop, whether it's Mac, you know, his arm strength, or Josh McDaniels in terms of, you know, being able to set up defenses. Like certain calls we're going to have in the first quarter, they might not go well. When we come to the counter off of that, or a play action look in the third and fourth, we're going to hit it for an explosive.
Starting over, I look at it as a complete reset. Like I'm going to build on last year. No, you're not. Whoever is the coordinator is going to have a completely different philosophy. And they'll say, well, it's really, we just, you know, Bill sets the tone and then, you know, we adjust from there. Okay. I don't see it that way. Right. I don't.